This is your VGLosers.com review of Friday the 13th, Abuser and the Abuse, #1. Hello, it's Dirt from VGLosers.com, coming to you from my secret lair, otherwise known as my ugly basement. Today we're talking about Friday the 13th, Abuser and the Abuse, #1 from Wildstorm. This is a one-shot issue. It's a standalone story, so you have no problem following the history as long as you're familiar with the Friday the 13th series. And what we have is actually an interesting story this time around. You've got a young teenage girl who lives in an abusive relationship with her parents, an abusive relationship with her boyfriend, and it starts to turn her into a maniacal killer. She actually finds herself mirroring the life of Jason Voorhees. And in fact, she goes to Crystal Lake and finds herself face to face with Jason as she tries to relate to him and explain to him how they are basically the same person. While it's an interesting story, the problem mainly is the artwork. Now, artwork is only half of the entire work of a comic. I mean, you've got story and art, and they have to go hand in hand. Unfortunately, this art style does not fit this book. It's just way too cartoony. Now, they knew it was kind of over the top and didn't really fit, and so they colored it to make it look like a 70s book, complete with little points of color to make it look like the old coloring process that was used in old comics. But really, you just can't help look at it and think of a cartoon, which might be fine in other books, but it doesn't really work in a horror story, which is what Friday the 13th is. And on the whole, while I did like the story and thought it was a fun read, that artwork just keeps it from being a must-read or an excellent title. I'd say it's a solid performance, a Peter Weller Award at any rate, but if you're a fan of Friday the 13th, it's worth definitely checking out. If you like horror comics, it's worth checking out. But if really horror is not your thing and you're not really into Jason Voorhees and all the little slashers out there, then by all means, you can probably let it slide. But for horror fans, solid performance.